What is going on, everybody? Bobby Five and the man Eric Sheets-Haber. We are going to be talking through the slate tonight. We only have a 4-gamer. I have not been doing very well. It's been a rough week after having a really good run there for a little while and feeling like I was on the upswing. But it's just been some tough games. And last night I was there for all the pivots. I was ready to make them all, and then I went with the safest spend up and had too much money to spend because I wanted to play Rudy Gay and Herter and guys like that everywhere, and Simons. And I ended up with all the Donovan Mitchell. So not a good night for me. But Sheets, you did better, and you had a real sweat actually. So
yeah, so it was fun. So listen, first of all, I really do appreciate all the from our subs yesterday. I mean, look, we're not different for the sake of being different. You know what I mean? Like, we don't like come up with stupid shit just to be stupid. We just kind of like talk about what we want to talk about. And we just don't get drawn in by the rest of the industry, maybe like some people do. And Bobby like brought up like Lance Stevenson like at freaking noon. You know what I mean? Like, and we talked through it. And at first, I didn't even know what team he's on. Oh, Lance Stevenson coming back to Indiana. I didn't even know he's on Brooklyn, right? And he's no, he's actually on Indiana. Oh, I didn't even know he's back with Indiana. Oh, it makes sense to me. I mean, whatever. So through the constant talking about it, like Bobby just kind of sold me on it. And then I even talked about the Marquise Chris. And remember back at 12, I said, I am promising you upon penalty, I'm playing these guys. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get talked off or whatever it is. And I even joked, I'm sure these guys are going to be 50% owned in the big buy. And you're like, I don't know about that, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. So we talked it through online. We talked it through during the live stream. And so many people came as, oh my God, how the guys can come up with that? I didn't have the balls for it, whatever it is. Dude, I will just say this. Anybody that says narratives don't matter, this is literally exhibit A. And this is not narratives after the fact. This is not stuff that you talk about later and say,
no,
boy, why did Lance Stevenson? Well, oh yeah, that's because of this. I mean, Bobby nailed it like from the beginning. Okay. And he came in the game and in like 5 minutes had 30 fantasy. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Right. and so I ended up like, I'll share my screen a little bit. I want. So it's actually kind of fun. So like this was actually part of it. I've been cashed. I cashed in the big one here as well. This one did not have Stevenson, but this had all the other good plays. It said Sabonis, who I said 75% of him, and then I had and then Jokic. I had 60% of him. No one can do anything against him on that team. I mean, like Rudy Gay did his best, and Rudy Gay had a good game offensively because because Jokic don't feel like going out to guard stuff either, right?
Right.
And Simons had like 8 fantasy points at the half, and he had like 40 by the end of the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He went ballistic. But then this was kind of the fun one. This was the box out. I actually think at 350. But this was like in first place for a while with Marquise Chris basically having a 0, because what this had Lance Stevenson, and it didn't actually say it. Well, it did. He was literally 0.1%.
I think it's even less than that, Sheets. I think it's like 0.06.
Yeah, I think that's right, actually. So I was able to just play all this other chalk, right? And if I wasn't so greedy and demanded I play both these guys in every lineup, you know what I mean? Maybe I find a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact is that this now I had money left. This was a full flat 3K. So what I would have had to have done is I would have had to have been smart and played Herter like I was supposed to. But by the time it got to the end and I was out and I said, oh, Trae Young is out. I have like no spots left. Right. All I had was like 3K of Chris and Jokic left that I couldn't, I wasn't going to play, what's his name, Herter just for the sake of not playing Jokic, right? So I just kind of rolled with it. This is what it was. And so I ended up getting like a 12th or something like that because I got Herter and I got Bogdanovich, you know what I mean? Like other guys we're just better than me. That's the best I can describe it. So it was fun for me to at least, get away. I've been struggling just like you. Can't say how much or how little, but how much or more. But yeah, I've been struggling, and it makes me feel better because, we have similar processes, if not the same process. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you've had more cash than I have recently. So
no, I had been doing really well until about a week ago.
Okay.
I guess it's basically since the new year. It's really been since I've been really struggling, but it hasn't been that long. It just feels bad because. Yeah. You like you mentioned, these are tough plays to actually pull the trigger on. And even though some of the lineups where I had one lineup with Lance, I had the wrong Martin, although both Martins didn't do anything. Nasir Little absolutely demolished me. because he kept it being the one guy I had space for, in addition to Gallinari and Herder and all those guys. Because I had so many guys, so many lineups where I only had 2 guys played until the late stuff. So I should have actually been able to really capitalize. And just with Nasir Little and I played Jokic in all the lineups, so he was great. But I played that little middle Mitchell combination where they scored me, 30 something fantasy points combined, where I was expecting closer to 70 plus fantasy points, maybe as high as 100 like they did last week together. Right. That there's a chance I could have won a tournament with them. So it's just a really, it's a strange game. Donovan Mitchell couldn't make a shot to save his life. Little was absolutely god awful and played a million minutes, but just couldn't do anything. Right. And ready to move it on, I guess. Tomorrow's going to be the big day. This is going to be a small day for me, so I'll be thinking.
Oh, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's a big one?
Yeah, they have that $250K for first place, but also it's the Friday big slate, the normal Friday stuff,
Okay.
You know how it goes.
Make sure to get in there early because there's some tend to sell out those things.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I will for sure. But let's jump into tonight. Go ahead, Sheets.
So let's get started with tonight, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So for me in the first game, I think that it's really hard still for me. I mean, it's interesting. The Celtics might do something on a back-to-back, so keep an eye out for that. If Horford's out, you might get Robert Williams become a little bit interesting to me. And he'll probably play because they're losing games so much. But I on the back-to-back, I'm not really finding a lot of love for a lot in this game. I think Barrett is a solid play. I think Burks is starting to drop in ownership here and potentially keeping that starting role or having that starting role again. I think he's interesting. I think I would go Barrett then Burks right now, but it's really close between those two for me. And then that's pretty much my interest level in this game.
Yeah. So my first look at this game, and even though it's a 4-game slate, my first look at this game was XX, for both teams.
Yep.
And I'm looking again and I might be forcing it. But I'll just tell you a couple of guys that show up as okay. Like Alec Burks shows up as just okay. Quickly shows up as just okay. And then I don't know why, but I got to look into this. Because what's his name? I guess is still out. Nerlens Noel. I might take a shot at Taj Gibson at 3,200. Again, small slate, and it's not the same type of slate where it's like 100,000 great centers that you need to play. So maybe you can play him at 3,200. Again, just 4 games, so just trying to search for stuff. So that would be really quickly maybe Taj Gibson and maybe Alec Burks, and nothing from Boston. Yeah,
the whole guard situation for the Knicks is weird because one of Fournier or Quickly I could see having a good game here, but I don't know if I want to pull that trigger yet. And I have a feeling like I know it's only 4 games, but there's going to be some news that's going to open up a bunch of stuff. So
it just has to be, right? There always is.
There has to be. So Jaylen Brown, I think, is maybe the best play on the other side. But keep an eye out. I think I would have some interest in Robert Williams if we have no Horford. What about Detroit, Memphis? What do you got? You can start this one off.
Wait 1 second. Oh, I see. So apparently Robinson and Noel were out over the weekend. But I think Robinson is back. Yes.
Yeah, he played last night.
Right. Okay. So maybe, and even Taj Gibson is now questionable. Okay. So he is probably back. So obviously if both those guys are back, Taj Gibson isn't in play. Again, I just figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah.
Detroit, Memphis. This is actually a game I like a couple of guys. I like Cade Cunningham for Detroit. I like his spot today. And then I don't know how he did yesterday, but I would go back to Trey Lyles. I think he was just kind of okay yesterday, and I don't expect him to be more than okay, right? But I don't know. I just don't feel as you need that much tonight. I just think that famous last words, right? It just feels like a 260 point, 270 point slate. So I wouldn't mind getting just minutes out of Lyles and just kind of just seeing where the chips fall. So Cade and Lyles, and then on the Memphis side, I like all 3 of Morant, Jackson, and Clark. I would not play, I guess, Jackson and Clark together But I do like Morant, and I do like both Jackson and Clark.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a tough game. I mean, you have a traveling Detroit team on the second of a back-to-back. I'm wondering if they will rest some guys. They did just get a bunch of guys back, so keep an eye out for that one too.
Okay.
And we'll be live at 6:30, right? 6:30 today because of the.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so so I don't know, man. Like I want, as it currently stands, nobody from Detroit outside of Cade and Lyles really stand out to me. I do think Lyles, they've given him a role. It's like partly why I was against Lyles earlier this year, just to go through it. Like they never really gave him the minutes that you would need for him to get there. And they're giving him minutes. I mean, they got blown out yesterday by Charlotte, so nobody played the fourth quarter run. He would have played 30 minutes again. He played 34 before that. He played 37 the game before that. I think Lyles is, assuming that he's in the starting lineup again, is a pretty solid play. Although it's kind of weird because when they start Garza, they seem to do a little bit better. But Cade and Lyles, but I really feel like temper your expectations because this feels like a Memphis just completely blowout. But at the same time, we've seen Detroit play better on the road, and like they just beat Milwaukee the game before last, and they come home, then they go over to Charlotte and they get smoked. I don't know. Detroit's a really weird team, so it's hard to predict them being in or out of games. I think Melton and Brooks are going to be back tonight, which will keep the ownership a little bit lower on Ja Morant than he'll project for early on. But I always, Morant's this is a guy taking a real leap, the third year leap kind of a thing. And I think that he's one of the best players in the NBA now, and he knows it. He's probably, if the season finished right now, he probably finished fourth in MVP voting. And I think that's very justified. So I like Ja. I think this is a game where Steven Adams could have a good game. I think they've raised his price a little bit, but he's really become a part of what they do, mostly just in terms of setting screens and rebounding. But that's good enough when you're putting up like nearly 30 every game. So mildly interested there. I don't know if I want to get too invested in all the other guys because with Brooks coming back, with Melton coming back, we have no, what's his name, right? We have no
Kyle Anderson?
No, the real one, Payne. Payne and Anderson are both gone. So actually, I don't know. It actually should be a better spot. Sort of talking myself through this one. I think that Ja is a better play than I maybe even said at first. I think he's a really good play.
And it's also, this is his second year, Ja, or is it third now?
This is his third.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to maybe, Ja against the new hot shot coming up in the Cade Cunningham. Maybe they could do some business there.
Sure. I mean, especially if like Cade starts off hot or something like that. That's how these games go. People like, sometimes think that stuff sounds too much. I don't think so. I think it actually makes a lot of sense. And the thing about Ja is, he projects for 33 minutes. Those 33 minutes, if the game is close, are going to turn into probably 36 minutes. And on top of that, I just to read Ja's game log, and now he's facing one of the three worst defenses in the NBA. He's put up 66, 51, 55, and 48, and he's 9,200. So seems like a pretty easy play to me. I do think the other guys, the Jaron Jackson, the Dylan Brooks, the Anthony Melton are all fine, but I don't have like a strong lean towards them. I may go on Melton by the end of the day. And at the same time, I may go back to Josh Jackson. I know the run hasn't been good. First of all, another former team of his, really fast-paced game environment, good environment for him.
He did nicely for me yesterday.
Put 27 up yesterday, 27.75 yesterday, 37.75 the game before. Yeah. He's just the kind of guy who at low ownership on a small slate could end up breaking the slate for you if things go his way and put up 40 fantasy points. So
sure,
I have him on my list. All right, you're going to get some massive chalk in this.
Golden State, the big news is that Curry's probably not going to play. And
boy, is he struggling, by the way.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him.
But the team's good.
Yeah, they lost the last one though, but yeah.
Did they end up losing last night? Yes, they did. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They made a run and then they collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, once Dallas got smart and took out Marquise Chris because he's awful, they then it was clear sailing. Anyway, I would think I would like guys more with Curry out. So I gotta withhold my opinion until things update a little bit. I would want to say that I would want to play someone like Gary Payton or maybe Jordan Poole's a full 5,800. I guess he'd be my favorite, maybe. I don't know. Nothing seems to be that great, although you have to imagine it should be with Curry being out. So I'll defer to you on that for the time being. And then New Orleans, I actually like a couple of guys. I like Ingram at 8,100. I will defer to you on Herb Jones because you always seem to have an opinion one way or the other whether to play him. And then there's Josh Hart, who I like, and then the guy who just always shows up for me, and that would be Nicole Alexander-Walker. I did not play him last time, eventually, thank God. He got no minutes and no fantasy points. That's usually not a good combination. So I'll throw him into the hopper, and I'll send it over to you.
So I like, in order of the Golden State guys, I like Jordan Poole 1, Draymond Green 2. And it's interesting because Draymond, I don't think is going to be owned, and his projection sucks. But like, you take Steph out of there, which it can kind of go one way or the other from him. He had a bad game yesterday, Draymond, but against this Pelicans team who likes to run, like, you'd think that this would be a pretty good spot for him. And this game should be really close. Knock on wood. But so Poole 1, Green 2. Right now I have Wiggins 3, and then I have a question mark with Gary Payton and Damian Lee. It's not that Gary Payton needs to go nuts without, like, he's playing basically the same minutes probably that he'll get otherwise. He's a low usage guy, but he can do things. When he's out there, he just does a lot. Like, he had 11 rebounds yesterday, and it might be a different thing each day. He's always going to get a couple steals. He's one of the best, guys at getting steals, one of the best defenders in the NBA, period. And maybe his assist rate goes up a little bit, but he had 30 and 35 the last 2 games anyway. So I think that he's very reasonable. And I think Damian Lee, to speculate, is reasonable. But the problem is, any of these guys who are going to be unowned, maybe the good thing is if you're playing a bunch of lineups, to take some shots on a Toscano Anderson, on a Bielicha, on a Kevon Looney, just because one of these guys is going to get there. I just don't have a great feel for it, especially without knowing Iguodala's status, who that might be. They're just, even when they're missing bodies, they just have a lot of good players still. So that's the only thing that worries me for them. On the other side, they did make Brandon Ingram a nice, reasonable price for us. Josh Hart is fine. I feel like everybody I feel is fine. And I will go back to what I always say about Herb Jones, that I don't care if he has a little dud in him every now and then. Look, he's projected to score 22 fantasy points basically every slate, okay? And I mean, he scored 29 or more his last 4 games. He scored 29, 46, 37, and 27. I'm okay with taking the shot on that. I mean, on this slate, he's going to play minutes, and that's good enough for me, basically, is the way I'm looking at it. Devonta Graham is cheap and could have a decent time here tonight. I don't really feel in love with anything over here, to be honest with you. My natural instinct would be to play Ingram I would go Ingram, Jones, Hart, Graham. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I think there's an argument to be made for Graham here. I just don't feel like incredibly enthused about it. All right, we get more chalk.
What's that?
Now we get to a little bit more chalky stuff, I think.
Oh, you think so? Yeah, I don't know who's going to be chalky this today. Nothing really stood out for me as like being such a smash play. So
I think Poole and Morris will probably be the chalkiest guys.
Okay, so I'll start with Phoenix, I guess then. I mean, I like the good players here. I mean, I like Booker and Chris Paul, and then the other guys I like to play. And one of them is just awful, just an awful performance, at least for me. Cameron Payne. I mean, he played only 21 minutes, which is certainly within his normal ranges of outcomes, but just did nothing. Like 13 fantasy points. But he's still in the rotation. And then there's the other Cam Johnson, who gets more minutes and does a little bit better sometimes. So and the prices are very fair. They're both I think they both reflect their abilities rather efficiently. So I like those guys. And then you always keep playing this center, by the way.
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith. I mean, the guy's just, he only got 16 minutes in the last game, but that doesn't mean he's going to get 16 minutes today, right?
I believe he picked up early foul trouble, and then the Biyombo matchup with Valanciunas is the reason for that, I think.
Okay.
So I actually think he's a good play. I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's what I like on Phoenix. And on LAC, yeah, I had the only guy, Marcus Morris was my top guy there, and then a little bit of Reggie Jackson.
I wish this was a bigger slate because I would love to play Marcus Morris going back to Phoenix at low ownership, but I'm not going to be able to have that. I'm going to have to play him at high ownership. So be it. This is a sad one because this is a game we should be stacking, and it has some serious blowout concerns, or some serious, at least Phoenix. We don't need to put our hammer down, our foot down hammer kind of a thing. I've got the Clippers ranked Morris 1, Reggie Mann 2, Jackson 3.
Terrence Mann or Reggie Jackson? Which one?
Mann second, Jackson third. I have them very close. It's just a position and price discount, I guess, that you get on Mann. And I think all three of those guys are firmly in play. Especially, we don't know about Brandon Boston and Batum. That could potentially open up on a small slate a long shot play like Amir Coffey, who got there or didn't quite get there last time because off the bench. But he, I don't know. I just started thinking, trying to get creative on this slate. Eric Bledsoe against his former teammate. I'm always a sucker for stuff like that, but I don't love his price and I don't love his production, to be honest with you. So he had the one big game against Brooklyn and then the big game against Denver the week before. He does have a ceiling though. He can put up 50. So, and then on the other side, I like on the Phoenix side, I like Chris Paul number 1, Cam Johnson number 2, Booker number 3, Bridges number 4. I may include Jalen Smith in that by the end of this. I think his projection is off. So I think Jalen Smith is also in play, but this is the game I want the most exposure to, just based on the players and the prices and the situation. But I am a little worried about the blowout concern. So, that's as of right now. Things could easily change in the next 2 hours, and we get some guys out for Detroit, and everything could make a lot more sense. But while we have 2 close games on the slate, this is the one that I find myself sort of geared towards the most.
Yeah, and it's a late game, so it's certainly
it can be beneficial to stack it and have pivots.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's sort of the first look. The guys who I've got as priorities for the slate: Poole, Draymond, Draymond or Wiggins. I should have that as what it is. Draymond or Wiggins, Morris, Mann, and then a combination of Rjax, CP3, Cam Johnson, Jalen Smith, and Brandon Ingram will be the other guys I'm mixing in with Ja Morant.
And one other guy that you didn't mention, I mentioned him, you didn't comment on it too much, was you said something about Jaron Jackson, but do you like Brandon Clark at all today?
It's actually a good spot for him, so I probably should have mentioned him. Where is he? Let's see. It's I think I do like Brandon Clark a little bit today. Okay. So I would like him a little better if you get one of Brooks or Melton out also, but I think this could be a good spot for him as well.
Because I mentioned that I wouldn't want to play him with Jaron Jackson in the same lineup.
Right.
Okay.
We haven't seen that big game out of Jaron Jackson in a while, right? Like I'm just double check that I'm not missing something. I guess he had one decent game against the Spurs, but we haven't really seen it. But this could be a good spot, and also like you don't necessarily need to get 50 out of him on these kind of slates as opposed to yesterday where you really wanted to go for the hammer ceiling. But yeah, that's sort of the first look. We will be with you guys at 6:30 Eastern. I don't really think that there's anybody I didn't particularly mention. There's people who are Biyombo is going to project well. And I would just say that I'd be very, very careful with stuff like that. He played a bunch of minutes because of the injury trouble. And then also the fact that he matched up better size-wise with the big man, with Valanciunas last time. So they played him more minutes. Now he could get there in short minutes. We've seen that occasionally from him at times. But I think that it's more likely that Jalen Smith gets the run against a team like the Clippers who don't have a true big, and you're playing against guys like Ibaka who actually fit against guys like Jalen Smith pretty well. So All right. Anyway, guys, good luck to everybody, and we'll be with you at 6 Eastern. Let's try and do a little bit better this time. We did give out
That'd be 6:30 Eastern.
6:30 Eastern, excuse me. I did have to say I do feel good about the chat after lock. I think I gave out the right things. I still had Herder as my number one hawk, even though he was coming off the bench, and it kept his ownership down to 5%. So we had some good stuff in there. Rudy Gay as being the main guy you want to try to play later. I think we had some good stuff in the Discord, so we'll keep doing it, and let's get it tonight, guys.